You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauren Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy-to-implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life. Your struggles develop your strength. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. Arnold Schwarzenegger. So how's it going, Travis?
Oh, it's going well today. I was really sick the last week, so I finally started feeling better like yesterday afternoon. I don't know what the heck I had. It wasn't COVID, but something literally knocked me out for the better part of 8 days. One night I passed out
easily.
No, one night I passed out like a drunk frat boy. Like face down, clothes on. I didn't even brush my teeth. I had to lay down in bed to like recover from the long walk from the living room, in my huge house. Yeah, and I was down. I was just trying to recover for a minute, and apparently I passed out. Clothes on top of the sheets, everything. So
that's rough.
It was rough, but I'm finally feeling better and was able to. This was the first time in I don't know how long that I did not do any sort of exercise. I mean, I did stretch a couple times while I was feeling terrible, but I really didn't exercise hard for 8 total days.
I mean, it sounds like you couldn't if walking across your house was enough to take you out.
No, I literally ended up on the floor once. I was walking, the long trek. This time I was going from the bedroom to the living room. And once I got to the living room, I was like, if I take another step, I'm going to end up on the floor. So I just sat down. It was rough. I have no idea what got me, but yeah, it knocked me out. So
I'm glad you're back feeling better now.
Yeah, I'm excited. Back to work today, and I got some blood tests done, so I had kind of been wanting to do that anyway, just to see where I'm at. Everything's good, so no surprise there, really. Other than I was feeling like crap last week. So anyway, so what's going on in your life?
Well, nothing too eventful for me this last week. Work's been pretty busy just because I work in the school districts, and we're coming up on progress report season, so that's always a real grind for anybody who works in schools. I did paperwork. It is, and I work for multiple school districts, so it's even more fun.
Awesome.
I did go down to Phoenix this weekend to see my mom and my stepdad and my brother. So that was nice. I cut off about 12 inches of my hair. Maybe not 12. It felt like a lot. It was super long. And now to me, it's super short. But as you could tell, if you're watching YouTube, it's really not that short. It's just short for me. So anyway, Travis, what are we going to talk about during today's podcast?
Well, I'm super excited because we're going to talk about resistance training and weightlifting. And that is an exciting topic because that is how I started my fitness journey way back at 12 years old in 6th grade.
Oh, little baby Travis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was picking up the big weights back then, as you can imagine. I weighed like 60 pounds. So anyway, Lauren, what is resistance training?
Well, resistance training is basically any exercise that causes your muscles to contract against an external resistance with, I know, we're getting technical here, with the expectation of increases in strength, power, hypertrophy, which is basically your muscles getting bigger, and or endurance. So basically moving against resistance. And resistance can mean anything. It doesn't just have to be weights. It can be your own body weight is weight. Like if you're doing push-ups or sit-ups or, whatever, you're moving your own body weight. That's weight. That's resistance. It could be dumbbells. It could be resistance bands or exercise tubing. It could be bottles of water, a gallon of milk, a soup can. It could literally be anything, which is why I love resistance training.
I like that they separated strength and power, because most people would think those are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of you not in tune with, strength training and I would say athletic training, strength would be like a bench press would be the easiest way to think about it. Just how much weight can you press with your muscles, versus power would be how fast can you move X weight to generate force, essentially, which is very important for athletics, because the world's best bench presser is not the world's best NFL lineman generally.
Yeah, exactly. So, I like that you defined those. Thank you, Travis, because I think that's an important distinction that maybe not everybody's aware of.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. So anyway, what are some of the benefits of resistance training?
Well, the benefits of resistance training are seemingly endless. So I'm just going to list them at first, and then we'll go into them a little bit. But to start, so resistance training can increase bone density, decrease your risk of osteoporosis or osteopenia. It can increase your metabolism. By having more muscle, you will increase your metabolism, decrease your blood pressure, decrease your fall risk, decrease your disease risk, specifically cardiovascular disease and or diabetes, improve your body composition by increasing muscle and reducing fat, reducing and preventing low back pain, improving your self-esteem and your mental health, improving cognitive abilities. Literally, you're smarter if you lift weights, improving your physical fitness and improving muscular strength, improves the longevity of your life. Just to name a few.
Just to name a few. And it goes on and on and on and on. And we have a great reference that we'll list in our description of all of our podcast information. But to go into a little more detail for those of you who are a little bit newer to resistance training, I'm just going to touch on a couple. Travis will touch on a couple of the things that he mentioned already. But for me, particularly of interest was that resistance training can increase bone density. So that's a big deal for me as a woman, because women have a higher likelihood of having osteopenia or osteoporosis, which is lower bone density and more fragile bones. Like, you can break your bones a lot more easily. In fact, a 2010 study showed that approximately 54% of the U.S. adult population ages 50 years and older have either osteoporosis or osteopenia. 54%.
Yeah, that's pretty high. And weightlifting has been shown to not only prevent osteoporosis and osteopenia, but you can actually increase your bone density by lifting weights, which is important.
Very important.
Yeah, because if you've had anybody elderly in your life, or maybe you are elderly and you've experienced a fall, broken hips are not fun. Broken bones are not fun. And some people can break their bones much easier than falling. Falling is a pretty blunt force trauma, but how about bumping up against a coffee table? I've had a patient break a bone bumping up against a coffee table. Another one broke a bone in their back by sitting on the toilet, which is really sad.
Oh.
Yeah. So you want higher bone density. It's good for life.
You want higher bone density for sure. Don't want fragile bones.
No. So another good one is it increases your resting metabolism, which is good news for weight control. So if you are, or for weight loss, if you are trying to lose weight or just maintain whatever weight you are at, by increasing the amount of muscle that you have, you will actually burn more calories just sitting around doing nothing, which is, that's a heck of a reward at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you work out in the morning, you do resistance training in the morning, and for the rest of the day, your body is still burning calories. That is cool. One of my favorite things to talk about of the benefits of resistance training is it improves self-esteem.
That's a good one for me.
Yeah, it improves your mental health. One of the things that we talked about, Travis, before we filmed this episode is weightlifting is the only place that we are taught that failure is good. So like lifting to failure is a good thing. But if you think about it, failure is a good thing in life as well as in the gym. Failure makes you grow.
Right. You learn from failure. But in lifting weights, I feel like in society, we're taught that failure is a bad thing, which I disagree with strongly. But in the gym, you're taught that failure is a good thing. Failure causes hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is increased muscle strength. It's actually increased muscle size technically, but with increased size, you'll get increased strength. That's how you get better. So you're taught that it is a good thing. I learned this at 12. It was it's great because then, you know, it gives you a different outlook on life because for instance, when I was 12, I started lifting like 20-pound dumbbells, and I mean bench pressing 20-pound dumbbells. Now, a 20-pound dumbbell now is nothing. Right, of course. But back when I was 12, I only weighed like 60 pounds, so it was a lot. But now I look back and you can just see that strength increases all through time. And still to this day, I still increase my strength whenever I focus on trying to increase my strength. And it's awesome to see that barrier. It's a very real barrier. Like, I can't bench this much weight today. That's a very real barrier. I didn't get it off my chest. And then 3 weeks later, I got it.
Yeah.
Well, I just overcame a very real barrier in my life and improved. And that is a huge boost in your self-esteem and just your belief in your ability to achieve in life.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that strikes me the most about that is in weightlifting or resistance training, like that's something to brag about, that like I went to failure. Like you never hear people are like, you know, I failed at this in life. Like I didn't do a good job or, you know, but why? There's such a thing as like failing forward and learning from that experience and using it to better yourself and fuel yourself and keep moving forward. So I don't know why failure gets such a bad reputation in life, because it is such an important part of life. Because if you're not failing at something, are you really trying? Are you really trying to do something that you don't already know how to do? Like,
I mean,
branching out.
Yeah, when I teach patients how to, when I work on balance a lot, and when I teach balance activities, people get really frustrated because they're literally falling and I'm catching them. But I explain it like it's just like weightlifting. If I don't push you to the point that you're falling, you will not improve your balance. It's extremely hard. Like by holding on to the bar and just lifting up one leg and standing there, if that's easy for you, what's the point?
What's the point?
Right? So it's the same thing. Yeah, I like going to failure, and it really does teach you a lot about life, I think.
Yeah.
Another thing, it improves your physical fitness. So weightlifting improves physical fitness overall. And life takes strength. So
no surprise there.
Yeah. So you know, a bag of dog food was, you know, 40 pounds. You got to be able to pick that up and then dump it into a bin if you do it the way we do it, so that it stays fresh. Babies, lots of parents hurt their backs picking up their babies and holding them on their hips. Well, you know, what's a baby weigh? 12 pounds. I guess 8 pounds to start, goes up to 12 pounds in a couple of weeks.
It just grows and grows and grows. Yeah, it gets heavier and heavier.
Toddlers still want picked up.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big one that most people probably wouldn't think of, but I work on this with my patients a lot, getting on and off the ground. So there's a lot of reasons you get on and off the ground if you just take note of doing it throughout your life, throughout your week. You get off the ground to clean. You get on and off the ground to play with your kid or your grandkid. That's the big one for a lot of my patients, is like, I want to be able to get on the ground to play with my grandkid again. And I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
So,
and that's such a big deal. And I work on the other end of it where I'm working with the babies who are learning for the first time how to get off the ground. And
interesting.
Yeah. And I'm breaking down that process of like, I literally will have parents walk through, well, how do you get up from the ground? And it's, you know, like, how do we teach your baby how to do that? And it's holding all of these positions that are so hard because the baby's never done them before. We're going to pull one leg up. We're going to like hold this half kneel position. We're going to try reaching from this. And then the baby's falling over and it's really hard and they're crying, but it's a valuable skill. I mean, we learn it as a baby and we have to do it for the rest of our lives. And it takes significant strength.
I never thought about how similar our jobs are.
Similar in a very different way. Yeah.
Right. Your patients are a lot smaller than mine.
A lot smaller.
So also we talk about longevity quite often. We've talked about it in relation to various mental health conditions, and just everything. Well, muscle strength also predicts longevity. So people that are in a University of Michigan study, they predict a 50% higher likelihood of premature death for individuals with low muscle strength.
Wow.
That's actually a little higher than your risk of dying early with obesity and with loneliness, which are both about 40% higher likelihood of premature death.
Yeah, this is a pretty staggering number. I'm actually a little surprised by it.
Oh, I am not at all. I see people at the end of life a lot. So.
That's true. I see people at the beginning of it. So I guess we have a little bit different perspectives there. Different
perspective, yes. You probably don't look at the that type of research for longevity as much as I do, just because of based on your patient caseload.
Right.
So Lauren, how do you start with weight training?
That's a great question. Personally, for me, I do a lot of like trial and error as far as like what weight to start at. That is a question I get quite often, fairly often, from people who are just beginning with resistance training is, what weight do I start at and how much do I do? And basically for me, I go as heavy as I can and go until I can't. And then if I really feel like going more, I'll drop set and go to a lighter weight and then do failure again. I know bodybuilders will do like your 1 rep max and then do a percentage of that based on the amount of reps that they want to do. I don't do that. I don't think I have heavy enough weights for that because I do work out at home. So I do a lot of reps and I just go until failure. What about you, Travis?
I don't do that either. A lot of the reason that they used to do that was because the science that we had at the time, and I'm talking 10 years ago, the science that we had all said you need to do 8 to 10 reps or 2 to 5 reps for strength building, for hypertrophy.
Yeah, it was all very like specific. Like you have to do this or this or
correct. Yeah. And a bodybuilder, their goal is hypertrophy. So they're going to listen to that and they're going to be like, okay, well, I get my 1 rep max and then I should be able to do 85% of my 1 rep max 5 times. I have no idea if that's what they go by. I'm just making that up as an example.
Like 1 rep max scale at all.
Right. So they're going to take that 80% and they're going to do that 5 times and that's going to be their set. I don't do that. The research doesn't really support that anymore. Now the research supports it doesn't really matter how many reps you go to. You will get hypertrophy if you fail. So hypertrophy again.
Failure.
Right, exactly. So hypertrophy again is just your muscles tending to grow. And if you want bigger muscles, all you have to do is lift until you fail.
Can't do it anymore.
Can't do it anymore. And it does not matter what weight. I do a mixture of really high reps and lower reps. I'll go up to, sometimes I'll do 50 reps.
Yeah.
whatever I feel like on the day, because sometimes I don't want to lift heavy weights and sometimes I don't want to do high reps. So sometimes I'll do 2 reps and sometimes I'll do 50.
Yeah, and then you can add in tempo, go really nice and slow, add pauses in at the top of the move, and you can really get a burn.
Or go really fast, and that'll actually create more hypertrophy with plyometrics.
Yeah.
But also then you're working on your power, right? Like we talked about earlier. So yeah, I don't do any complicated stuff, just train to failure. That's how I do it.
Train to failure. That's what I do too.
Lauren, do you need to go to a gym?
Well, I would say I'm walking evidence of no, you don't. I work out at home. And honestly, you can get, like we were talking about, the like definition of resistance training is just resistance. Like it doesn't have to be huge, heavy weights. It could be your baby. It could be milk jugs. It could be soup cans. It could be your dog. Like, I don't care what you're moving, just move it. You could work out wherever you want if you really wanted to.
I've got a huge heavy weight right here.
Exactly. Your body is a weight. Do some push-ups.
My body's a big weight depending on what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I can't do a pull-up. It is a big weight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And pull-ups are tough for most women. Even a guy. I mean, most men, one pull-up is probably hard for most men. I don't have any statistical evidence to back up my claim, but I'm guessing so. But either way, I can exhaust myself in pull-ups in probably 30 seconds or less.
Yeah. I mean, you could do a whole day of like body weight stuff. I used to do like handstand training stuff, and it was all body weight. And like I did shoulder taps and a handstand and push-ups and a handstand, and like, holy cow, your body weight's a lot. Like,
I love handstand push-ups. That's one of my favorite exercises.
So hard.
They're one of my favorites. Anyway, yeah, so you don't really need a gym. What I would recommend, though, if you don't know what you're doing and you have never done any strength training, I would say that it might be worth starting with a trainer. You probably can get by. This is really for people that really don't know what they're doing. And have never done it, never lifted in sports or anything like that. You might be able to get by with some YouTube videos and stuff like that, but it probably is worth starting with a trainer, at least for a couple sessions, just to get a good program that you can do safely. Because you don't want to hurt yourself.
Yeah, and technique is like everything when it comes to resistance training. Like you can hurt yourself in the gym. You can hurt yourself at home. You can hurt yourself pretty good if you are doing it incorrectly. So spending time, and I think we mentioned that in another episode, but spending time learning your form of all of your like basic exercises, squats, push-ups, all of that stuff is super important. I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh, my back hurts when I do sit-ups or something like that. And then I ask them, well, how are you doing sit-ups? Can you show me a video? And then, I mean, there's always something to correct. But if you learn that early on and you really focus on that, even with super light weights, you're going to go a long way.
Yeah, and speaking of the video, now with how easy it is to video, if you are trying to do it yourself, or even if you're not and you just want to make sure that you're doing things in a way that you're not going to hurt yourself, videoing yourself is a great way, and then compare it to, somebody that knows what they're doing, to see if you're doing it correctly.
Oh, that is a huge thing that I recommend to people is video themselves. And I video myself for like half of my workouts just to see, like, even now, and I'm 3 years in, which I still think is pretty new, like to consistently work out. Whatever. It's long for me, but I still film myself a lot of the time just to be like, well, am I getting lazy in my squats, or am I getting lazy in, my body positions for these things? And I mean, you can constantly find things to improve on, but it just makes you a better and more efficient weightlifter / resistance trainer.
Yeah, and once you get your form down and everything, there's all sorts of ways. As we said, you can use your body as your resistance. Resistance bands are really, really cheap to get. Dumbbells, depending on how much weight you're trying to lift. Dumbbells can be really cheap or really, really expensive.
Yes.
However, I often make dumbbells for my patients with a sturdy bag and some cans of soup. Or a milk carton with some water is 8 pounds. So for most people that are working out at home and not wanting to spend the money on actually getting real equipment, 8 pounds is probably as much as you need for most people.
Yeah. And I've had people do like cases of water, like all the like water bottles, like doing that as like a bicep curl. Like you can get super creative with what you have around your house and making it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a log. Just go find a log.
Yeah. Cut down a tree.
Watch out for spiders. I don't like spiders.
Me neither. I'm not a fan.
No, they shouldn't exist. I understand that they're good for, the environment and whatnot, but they shouldn't exist. They're creepy. Back on track, Lauren.
I'm sorry. I diverted to spiders. My fault.
Yeah. So other things you can do, you can use balls, sliders. Oh, you like the sliders, don't you?
Oh, sliders are like my favorite. I mean, you could use like a paper plate. You don't have to buy like an actual like slider, like paper plate. I don't know, towel if you have wood. You can make whatever in your house work as a slider. But those things add so much more like dimension to like if you're doing a push-up, do a push-up with one arm and then reach in a direction with your slider with the sliders are awesome.
I've never gotten into the sliders. They are super cheap though. Even if you buy like the furniture sliders are almost free.
Yeah.
You almost give them away at the stores. Yeah.
Super cheap. It's a really fun way. I think they're super fun. I'm like a huge fan of sliders.
I've never gotten into the sliders. I should give it a shot one time.
I also like using sliders for like mobility, getting that extra like stretch. Ooh, I just love sliders. Sorry. That's my own personal.
What stretches are you doing? Hyperflexibility?
I do a lot of like chunk rotations, like when you're like child's pose on the floor and then like threading the needle.
I gotcha.
That's for my upper back is the only part of me that like has any limited mobility.
Trunk rotations are like my favorite stretch in the world.
Yeah, the best.
Anything with the trunk. All right. So Lauren, how do you hold yourself accountable? Because you're not a gym goer and you don't have a working partner.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, but I think it's worth reiterating.
Yeah, I think because this is a huge aspect of like, I think this could be a big downside of working at home is you don't have the accountability unless like your husband works out with you, which mine does now, but didn't used to. So when I got started, it was just me in my living room at the time. Now I have like a whole room dedicated to it, but it was me in my living room with nobody to hold me accountable. I didn't even have to like pay to do anything. I didn't have to go anywhere. How do you hold yourself accountable? I did sweaty selfies with friends. And that was what kept me accountable it was one friend and I, we made like a pact that we were going to start this health journey together. And every single day we sent sweaty selfies to each other after our workouts. And that really did. I still do it. And I have a lot of accountability partners now because a lot of people really wanted in on that once I started telling people about it. So I have a lot of people that I send sweaty selfies to now, and it's a great way to be held accountable.
Nice. So I don't work out at home. I like the gym. One, because I like to lift bigger weights, and two, because I have always found, and I think a lot of people find this, I find it extremely distracting at home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to stay focused, and maybe that's just me because, ADHD and whatnot, but how do you limit distractions?
Yeah, I don't think that's just you at all. I think that's a really common problem if you work out at home because like your dog's at home, your spouse is at home, your work. Well, my work right now is at home because we're all virtual where I work. Your life is at home. So there's like 1,000 things to be distracted by. I don't know. I worked really hard when I was first starting my health journey to be very mindful of my workout space, my mental space. So my phone got put in a different room. I used to turn music on. I used to have a whole like pre-workout and post-workout like ritual, where I don't know, like everything was really strategic. So everything that I could have been doing or should have been doing had to be put away or tucked away or not paid attention to. And I had to be really strict. And I think the biggest distraction a lot of times was my phone. And I think that could be arguably a distraction in the gym as well. But at home, I mean, I could be doing a million things on my phone and I'm not paying to be at a gym. So the phone was a really big thing because I put it in a different room. I do not touch my phone during my workout until after my workout, and then I'm filming things.
Yeah, I do the same thing with the phone at the gym. Mm-hmm. I'm lucky in that my gym there's never more than like 3 people in it. I think there were 5 people one day. It was busy. So I'm not worried about somebody stealing anything. It's not like I'm going to an LA Fitness or something like that. Yeah. So my phone sits on the counter at the gym, and I don't touch it either. What I used to always do is I would never take my phone into the gym, and I had an iPod, the old school iPod Nano.
Yeah.
But somebody stole it.
How dare they?
I know.
Do I need to go beat somebody up?
Probably.
Okay.
Maybe I should get another one at some point, but I'll worry about that if I move to a place where there's more than 3 people in my gym. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's resistance training. You got anything else to add?
One other thing I would suggest for keeping yourself on track. Well, for me, it really helps because I do work out now before work, which I am not a morning person. I'm not a morning workout person. I preferably work out in the afternoon/evening. That doesn't work for me anymore because I have a puppy who likes to play after I'm done with work. So now I work out in the morning, and having to be ready for work is a really strong motivator to keep me on track because I have a whole set of things that I want to do and I want to get them done. And if I'm going to dilly-dally and mess around, I'm not going to get them done. I really like to be I love to cross things off my list. So that keeps me really on track.
That's very regimented. Yeah, I have a list of daily action steps that I need to take too. I did want to ask you one more thing because back when I started lifting weights, which I know I'm super old and everything, but yeah, I know it would have been like early 2000s. It was still not cool for girls to lift weights because they were going to get bulky. What do you have to say?
Strong is beautiful, and you do not get bulky if you lift weights. As a woman, you're not going to look like a man. You're going to get muscles, and muscles are beautiful. You're going to be fine. Oh, I could go on a rant on this. I'm going to just calm myself down.
Yes, don't worry. I would say for anybody, whether you're looking to get bulky or not get bulky, there is only one way to get bulky. You have to eat a crap ton of food.
Yeah.
You have to eat more food. That's
Lifting
the only way I
weights
was able to
isn't going to make you bulky.
No.
Lift the weights, ladies. Lift the weights.
All right. I think on that note, we can end it. Thanks for your insight, Lauren.
Thank you for asking that question. This is fun.
This is fun. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. And as always, send in any recommendations for new episodes you want to hear about in the future, and we will try and address those promptly. Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.